6 years into our marriage, my dink husband, Marcus, suddenly underwent a vasectomy. Holding the surgery in my hand, I placed the divorce in front of him. He frowned impatiently. You were the one who insisted on being dinks. Now that I've had a vasectomy, what are you making a fuss about? I smiled mockingly. So what? Let's divorce. For a sterile man to get a vasectomy? It was a joke. 1. Today was our 6th wedding anniversary. Marcus said he had a special gift for me. I eagerly opened it, only to find a surgery. The hand holding the gift paused, and my face quickly changed. I had a vasectomy today. Marcus didn't notice anything was off, simply serving food onto my plate. After a vasectomy, we won't need any more birth control, and we won't have to worry about accidental pregnancies. I finished the last bite in my bowl and spoke calmly. Let's get a divorce. Marcus looked at me in confusion. We'll go to the courthouse tomorrow to finalize the divorce. Seeing that I wasn't joking, Marcus's face also darkened. Grace, what are you trying to pull? What's wrong with me getting a vasectomy as a dink? You were the one who proposed we be dinks in the first place. I've accommodated you so much, I even got a vasectomy for you. What more could you possibly want? At the very least, you owe me an explanation. I looked at Marcus's face, red with anger, but it stirred no ripple in my heart. Because you had a vasectomy. Marcus stood frozen, seemingly shocked by my unreasonableness. It was a long moment before he picked up his phone to call both our parents. Divorce is a big deal. I need to let my parents know I haven't done anything wrong, and there's no way I'm getting a divorce. Marcus's eyes were bloodshot with anger. I nodded, unconcerned by the delay. And so, we remained silent until our parents arrived. Marcus's parents arrived earlier. The moment Mrs. Deborah walked in, she slapped me across the face without a word. The stinging pain on my face pierced me to the core. You infertile jerk. How dare you even mention divorce? Marcus watched as Mrs. Deborah hit me, not even bothering to lift an eyelid. My son, a top university graduate, joined your family, and you tricked him into not having children. Now he's even gone and had a vasectomy for you. How do you even have the audacity to mention divorce? After speaking, she raised her hand to slap me again. I clutched Mrs. Deborah's hand tightly until she cried out in pain. Only then did Marcus step forward to pry my hand away. That's my mom, show some respect. My gaze was chilling, and Marcus instinctively took a few steps back. Now you know she's your mom? Why didn't you say anything when she just slapped me? They hadn't expected their usually polite daughter-in-law to suddenly transform into a completely different person. They were all too intimidated to speak. Mrs. Deborah leaned in and whispered something to Marcus. Have you done something to wrong her? A flicker of guilt flashed in Marcus's eyes, but he quickly shook his head firmly. At this, Mrs. Deborah's assertive demeanor returned, completely shedding her earlier hesitation. I will not agree to this divorce. Besides, if you divorce, my son will be a second-time divorcee. Marcus nodded in agreement beside her. He couldn't understand why I would divorce him simply because he got a vasectomy. I frowned impatiently. If you agree to divorce now, you can still get half the assets. After tomorrow, you'll have to leave with nothing. Hearing about half the assets, Mrs. Deborah's eyes lit up, and she discreetly tugged at Marcus's sleeve. No matter when we divorce, I'm entitled to half the assets. Plus, I won't agree to a divorce. Just as we reached an impasse, Grace's parents finally arrived. Chapter 2. Grace's parents immediately spotted the handprint on my face, their eyes reddening with concern. Without a word, Mr. Robert stepped forward and slapped Marcus. No matter who slapped Grace just now, I'm holding Marcus accountable. Now, let's sit down and discuss this divorce. Mrs. Deborah saw her son get hit and immediately lunged forward to demand an explanation, but Marcus held her back. Seeing his actions, Mrs. Eleanor scoffed but said nothing. Hearing that I wanted a divorce because Marcus had a vasectomy, Grace's parents' expressions weren't good. Grace, divorce isn't a game. You're being a bit unreasonable about this. Mr. Robert nodded beside her. Yes, what's so unusual about Marcus getting a vasectomy when you two are dinks? Besides, you were the one who proposed being dinks, and Marcus agreed without a word, even taking the initiative to get a vasectomy. You're the one in the wrong here. Marcus's family, hearing Grace's parents take their side, looked at me smugly. I remained silent, simply insisting on the divorce. Unable to find a breakthrough with me, Grace's parents shifted their focus to Marcus. Marcus, did you do something to upset Grace? There's nothing that can't be overcome between a husband and wife. Just humor her a bit, and she'll be fine. Marcus's expression softened, and he walked towards me, taking my hand. I'm sorry, Grace. I shouldn't have gone and gotten a vasectomy without discussing it. Please forgive me just this once. Just as everyone expected me to accept Marcus's apology as I always had, I sharply pulled my hand away and took out a wet wipe to clean my hand. This action thoroughly enraged Marcus. Grace, what on earth are you doing? I've already apologized, what more do you want? I looked up dismissively. I want a divorce. My attitude was firm. Grace's parents, seeing my demeanor, realized that things weren't so simple. Their faces darkened as they stared at Marcus. Marcus, be honest. Have you done anything to wrong Grace? Grace's parents have weathered many storms, and under their gaze, Marcus began to feel uneasy, but he still firmly shook his head. How I've treated Grace all these years is clear for you all to see. She's propo. Sing divorce, and I want to know the reason even more than you do. Marcus's eyes were red with anxiety. Grace's parents fell silent. For years, Marcus had showered me with love and devotion, never letting me suffer any grievance. 6 years into our marriage, we had barely had a single argument. People around us always joked that I had found the perfect catch. At the time, I believed it too. But now, none of that mattered. All I wanted was a divorce. Grace, just tell us the reason. Everyone looked at me expectantly. Just then, my phone chimed. I looked down and saw a transaction record. I held my phone up for them to see. You want a reason? This is it. Chapter 3. Marcus snatched the phone, a flicker of panic on his face, before he handed it around for them to see. Grace, you're making such a big deal out of nothing. Who would ever want to marry you like this? Mrs. Deborah said with an exaggerated, mocking tone. Grace's parents looked displeased. Grace, you're wrong to do this. Even if you want a divorce, you shouldn't use this as an excuse. Seeing their reaction, I quickly retrieved my phone. Looking at it, the transaction record had already been deleted. I stared intently at Marcus, who guiltily turned his head away. Why are you glaring? Hasn't my son been good enough to you? Look at the transaction record, everything bought there was for you. Mrs. Deborah stood between Marcus and me, blocking our view of each other. Yes, Grace, divorcing over this is indeed a bit unreasonable and unfair to Marcus. We need to give them an explanation. Grace's parents looked at Marcus's parents with an apologetic expression. Grace's parents' attitude undoubtedly gave them an opportunity to take advantage. My son has suffered a great injustice in this matter. You must give us an explanation. Considering you've been married for so many years, if you compensate my son with 500,000, we'll let this matter go. I scoffed. If this matter is to be resolved, it will only be rough divorce, and we go our separate ways. You wanted an answer, right? This is the answer. I recovered the message Marcus had just deleted and resent it to everyone's phones. Grace's parents frowned deeply, while Marcus's parents beamed with delight. Did you see it clearly? Yes, we saw it clearly. Congratulations. Mrs. Deborah read the message content to Mr. Richard, who couldn't read. Baby, transaction, 8,499.60 yuan. You two just had an accidental pregnancy, why bother getting a divorce? Let me raise the child. I thought it was something major. Mr. Richard, hearing they were having a child, also became excited. We're going to have our first grandchild. This is wonderful. Our family name will finally be continued. As he spoke, his voice choked with emotion. He completely failed to notice Marcus, whose face had turned pale. Who was this bought for? Grace's parents grew serious. They knew clearly that I couldn't have children. Why ask? Of course, it was bought for Grace. After speaking, Mrs. Deborah stepped forward to help me sit down, but I took a step back. Madam, you might be mistaken. This wasn't bought for me. Grace, we're not even divorced yet, and you're already calling my mom that? How ill-mannered. At these words, Grace's parents' expressions changed. Marcus realized he had spoken without thinking and quickly apologized. Grace's parents, I spoke without thinking. Please don't take it to heart. As for that transaction record, I don't know what happened. A few days ago, the card Grace gave me went missing. It must have been illegally used by someone else. I'll report it to the police tomorrow. Besides, I've already had a vasectomy, how could I have other children? Grace's parents' expression softened slightly after hearing this. So you're saying someone found your card, mysteriously figured out your password, and wasn't even greedy enough to buy only 8,000 yuan worth of things from a baby store? Marcus looked flustered. He gritted his teeth and nodded. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Well, she must be a genuinely kind person then. Money is a small matter. Such a good person, using a found card, must be at her wit's end. I must help her. I picked up my phone and dialed the police. Officer, hello. My debit, and I'd like to report it. Chapter 4. Marcus was stunned, his earlier composure completely replaced by panic and fear. It was only 8,000 yuan. You're not short on money, is it really worth all this trouble? Of course it is. My money doesn't grow on trees. But don't worry, once we find the person who used the card, I won't press charges, and I'll even give her some money to help her get by. Marcus was speechless, retreating to a corner to sulk. The parents also sensed that something was amiss. Mrs. Deborah cautiously moved closer to her son. Son, did you really buy that stuff for another woman? She deliberately lowered her voice, but being always loud, her words still carried clearly to everyone present. Marcus's neck reddened as he snarled at Mrs. Deborah. Mom, you're making things worse. Just let me be. The police were quick. Based on the information I provided, they swiftly located the target. Come on. Let's all go see who found the card and offer some help. I called out to everyone present to head to the police. Everyone immediately rose, except for Marcus, who lagged behind. Looking closely, one could see his legs trembling. The station was not far from my house, a 10-minute drive, and we arrived quickly. At the entrance, I noticed Marcus trembling even more. As I walked in, I immediately saw a woman holding a child who looked less than a year old. The moment Marcus stepped through the door, the woman swiftly ran to his side, clutching the child. Marcus, they say I illegally used someone's card and summoned me here overnight, but that card clearly was. Marcus coughed frantically, and the woman finally noticed the group standing nearby. I walked over to Marcus's side and immediately recognized the woman, Marcus's secretary. Seeing me approach, both of them looked flustered. Well, if it isn't Sarah, Marcus's secretary. What a coincidence. To run into you here. I pretended not to know she was the one who used the card. Sarah smiled awkwardly. Since everyone's here, let's explain the situation. Marcus let out a long breath. The awkward atmosphere was finally broken. Marcus casually picked up Sarah's child and walked forward. After walking a short distance, he realized we hadn't followed and turned around in confusion. We were staring at the child in Marcus's arms, our faces pale with rage. Because the child looked exactly like Marcus. Grace's parents' faces were horribly grim, and Marcus's parents looked guilty and avoided our gaze. It was only then that Marcus realized, but it was too late. In his panic, he dropped the child to the floor. A cry immediately erupted. Daddy, I hurt. Sarah immediately turned and picked up the child, her face full of reproach. What's wrong with you? How can you not even hold your own child? Having a dad like you is a curse. Marcus had no reaction, just stood there, stunned. Not getting a response, Sarah followed Marcus's gaze and was stunned. Why didn't you warn me? Sarah tried to force a smile. My husband died young, and Mr. Fu is the only man around. Over time, my son just came to think of him as his dad. Children say the darndest things. I'll make sure he changes after we go back. Anyone could see she was lying, and no one bothered to respond to her. Oh dear, what a poor thing. But daddy isn't just a casual title. My son is old enough to get married, so he definitely needs to change that when we go back. Mrs. Deborah voluntarily stepped forward to try and lighten the mood, looking at us ingratiatingly. Our family ignored them and, with grim faces, walked inside. Chapter 5. Marcus resignedly closed his eyes and followed us. When we arrived at the mediation, Sarah also followed. Sarah, this is a private matter for us. Please excuse yourself. She was already one of the parties involved, and my words overwhelmed Sarah with shame, leaving her at a loss for words. Since all parties are present, please explain your situation now. Sarah's face flushed crimson. I was the one who used that card. I turned and stared directly at her. Sarah trembled violently, sweat beading and running down her face. Do you know the owner of this card? Yes. Marcus panicked. Don't talk nonsense. I never agreed to you using this card. Officer, she's my secretary. I never thought she would do something like this. Sarah hadn't expected Marcus to shift all the blame onto her. Marcus, have you no conscience? I gave birth to your child, and you treat me like this? You were the one who gave me this card. Sarah broke down crying. Marcus, seeing Sarah's state, kicked her fiercely. Idiot. At this, Marcus completely despaired. He slumped helplessly into the chair. Hearing all this, there was nothing left to misunderstand. Mrs. Eleanor hugged me tightly, her heart aching for me. Marcus, you heartless and ungrateful wretch. Everything you have now was given to you by my family, and you dared to cheat on me? Mr. Robert indignantly pointed at Marcus and launched into a furious tirade. Unexpectedly, Marcus suddenly sat up straight. Grace, you said if I agreed to divorce today, I could get half the assets. Does that still count? Marcus's family, who had been completely despaired, suddenly came alive at his words. Yes, yes, yes. It's still only 11:49 p.m. It's not past tomorrow yet. We agree to the divorce. Mrs. Deborah was so agitated that spittle was flying. Grace's parents had never imagined they could reach such a level of shamelessness and were, for a moment, too furious to speak. If you don't agree, the news that I have a son will spread throughout the city tomorrow. My reputation doesn't matter, but I don't know how it will affect your stock market. Grace's parents had probably not anticipated that the usually polite and humble Marcus would turn into this. They were about to refuse when I interrupted. Of course it counts. Grace's parents looked at me in shock. Grace, why give them the money? This minor issue won't affect the company, but we absolutely cannot swallow this insult. They earnestly pleaded with me, but I simply pulled the divorce from my bag. Sign it. Marcus stepped forward, carefully read the contents of the divorce, and finally signed it with satisfaction. Watching their family walk away triumphantly, I scoffed. Did they really think I'd just swallow this insult? Chapter 6. Early the next morning, Marcus called me. Grace, you're not going to go back on your word, are you? I'm already at the courthouse entrance. Hurry up. I looked at the time. It was 7 a.m. He was certainly impatient. It wasn't until 11 a.m. that I leisurely arrived. Grace, you have no sense of time. Look at what time it is. Are you trying to back out of the divorce? Marcus kept nagging incessantly, giving me a headache. I simply slapped him across the face, and he finally fell silent. Marcus immediately moved to hit me back, but my bodyguard pinned him to the ground. Suddenly, a group of people rushed over. I looked closely and saw it was their entire family. His parents, his mistress, and the child were all there. Grace, let go of my son right now, or I'll make you regret it. I laughed. It was the first time I'd seen someone who cheated threaten another person. If you don't let go of my son, I'll tell everyone that you can't have children. Are you talking about something like this? I motioned for my bodyguard to turn on the PA system, and the news of Marcus's cheating was broadcast. I also had my bodyguard hold up a giant arrow pointing in Marcus's direction. Everyone's eyes were focused on Marcus. The scene was too embarrassing, and Marcus's parents all hid, terrified of being seen as being on his side. Marcus Gr. It is teeth. Let's finalize the divorce. I checked the time. If we didn't go in soon, they'd close for the day. It was indeed time to finalize the divorce. After leaving the courthouse with the marriage, Marcus's face was bright with a triumphant smile. Grace, let's see who dares to marry you now. Only a pathetic gold digger with no real ability like you would constantly think about marriage. I retorted unceremoniously, my disdain evident on my face. Marcus was left speechless, only able to spout a cruel threat. Now half of your family's assets are in my hands. Let's see how I deal with you. Rich and foolish, aren't they? Just giving away half their family's assets like that. Marcus's face was filled with smugness. I know you can't let go of me, that's why you gave me so much of your family's assets. If you kneel and apologize to me now, and agree to have the child and his mother move in with us, I might even agree to remarry you. Don't worry, you'll still be the main wife, and the child will be registered under your name. He can take care of you in your old age. I was astonished by Marcus's shamelessness. I truly underestimated your level of shamelessness. You're not only ugly, but also scheming and deceptive. Marcus was provoked by my words. Once I get your family's assets, we'll see if you're still so arrogant. By then, you'd better not come begging me. After speaking, he walked away triumphantly, holding the child and leading his mistress. I really wanted to see his reaction when he received my vast fortune of 1,200 yuan. It made me look forward to it. Chapter 7. Marcus learned the truth earlier than I expected. Grace, get out here. I was having breakfast when Marcus arrived. Is there something you need, ex-hubby? Seeing me open the door, Marcus rushed at me like a madman. When he was less than a meter away, a bodyguard suddenly appeared from nowhere and kicked Marcus to the ground. I silently thanked my mother, who had the foresight to insist on these bodyguards. Before, I hadn't wanted to keep them, but it seems my consideration wasn't thorough enough. Grace, how dare you secretly scheme against me? You said half the assets, but where's the rest? Why is it only 1,200 yuan? Even though Marcus was pinned to the ground, his voice was filled with anger. You even got 1,200 yuan? That's quite a steal for you. My tone was provocative. Consider that 1,200 yuan a tip for you. You must immediately give me half of your assets, or I'll sue you. Marcus threatened coldly. I was unconcerned. Suit yourself. I'm sure you've already consulted a lawyer before coming here. Seeing that he was exposed, Marcus's eyes were filled with rage. He truly thought we were fools, that we'd just hand over so much money. It was merely a means to finalize the divorce quickly. Marcus believed that since I was the only daughter in my family, all the assets would be under my name, but he was mistaken. All the cards I used, including the one I gave him, and the house and cars, were under Grace's parents' names. When I first got married, Grace's parents wanted to put everything under my name, but I found it troublesome and never bothered. It seems being lazy has its advantages sometimes. Grace, you never treated me like family. You always guarded against me. Wealthy people really are cunning. I disagreed with that. After all, when I married Marcus, I truly saw him as my only support. So, when I saw in Marcus's premarital physical medical report that he was infertile, I didn't say anything. Instead, to avoid hurting Marcus, I hid my desire for children and proposed being dinks. Seeing his infertility being concealed by my dink proposal, Marcus agreed without hesitation and even became a good husband in others' eyes. So, when I saw Marcus with a child almost 2 years old now, I was somewhat shocked. Although married into my family's household, Grace's parents promoted him to vice of the company, but I never imagined he would use his position to publicly humiliate me by cheating. How my family treated you all these years, you know well enough. Why are you making a scene here? Don't think I don't know what you were thinking. When you had your vasectomy, your reluctance to divorce was precisely because you didn't want me to get pregnant, thinking you could have your child inherit my assets, wasn't it? Seeing his thoughts exposed, Marcus grew enraged. So what? What's wrong with me wanting a child? I can't let our family line end with me. You didn't want to have children, and I didn't force you, but you can't stop me from having children with someone else. Besides, what if you're old and no one is there to take care of you? My son could also help out. I was stunned by Marcus's shamelessness and couldn't help but laugh mockingly. Your son? You, a sterile man, claiming to have a son? Don't you find that laughable? Marcus hadn't expected me to know about this. He froze in place, his body stiff. How did you know? A subtle smile tugged at the corner of my lips. We had a premarital physical before we got married, remember? I sighed deeply, my tone full of regret. It wasn't until I knew you were infertile that I decided to be a dink. I never expected you to turn around and cheat, finding yourself a miracle son. Marcus hadn't realized I proposed being dinks for his sake. He immediately slumped helplessly to the ground, muttering impossible repeatedly. Also, are you really sure the child is your biological son? Infertility isn't that easy to treat, you know. Hearing this, Marcus looked up at me blankly, and the seed of doubt was planted. Chapter 8. Marcus immediately hailed a taxi and headed to the hospital. I found it interesting and quietly followed him. As soon as he got out of the car, Marcus immediately registered at the urology department. While waiting, Marcus continuously prayed with clasped hands, but no matter how much he begged heaven, he couldn't change the established facts. When he left the hospital, Marcus was disoriented, stumbling all the way to a nearby bench. Ah! He roared, angrily crumpling the medical report in his hand and throwing it into a trash can. Then he hailed a taxi and left. I put on gloves, retrieved the medical report from the trash, and immediately followed him. On the way, I opened the medical report and couldn't help but laugh out loud. Marcus had no fertility whatsoever, he couldn't even have children through artificial insemination. So where did his almost 2-year-old son come from? I told the driver to speed up, I couldn't miss this spectacular show. By the time we arrived, Marcus had only just gotten there. Sarah, you get out here. Marcus's voice was loud, instantly attracting many onlookers. Leo's taking a nap. What are you yelling about? Sarah looked at Marcus impatiently, reproaching him. Whose child is this? Tell me. After speaking, he grabbed her hair tightly and dragged Sarah out, then yanked him up and threw him onto her. The child, startled by the sudden upheaval, began crying hysterically. Of course the child is yours. You heartless wretch, are you denying your own child now? Sarah looked flustered and avoided Marcus's gaze, only clutching her son and crying. Marcus gritted his teeth. Are you saying I, a sterile man, fathered this child? Sarah froze. She had never known Marcus was infertile. Impossible. The child is yours. He even calls you daddy. Leo, quickly, call daddy, hurry. Sarah was completely flustered now, filled with regret. If only she hadn't gotten involved with him in the first place. But there was no turning back. She could only hope he would let them off the hook, considering their years together. Sarah's reaction completely despaired Marcus. This child truly wasn't his. Unable to control himself any longer, he picked up a stick and moved to strike Sarah and her son. The onlookers quickly grabbed the stick from Marcus's hand. Young man, talk things rough. You can't hit people. Too, who was consumed by rage, these words were nothing but blatant mockery. He turned and headed home. Just as everyone thought he had come to his senses, he emerged with a knife. Who dares to stop me? Today, I will make this despicable woman pay. You're all mocking me. You're all mocking me. Marcus's emotions were out of control now. I had to leave to avoid him turning on me. I turned to walk away, but he still saw me. Grace. Chapter 9. I turned and ran. I had come out in a hurry today and didn't bring my bodyguards, so if I got caught, it would be bad. When things go wrong, even running makes you trip. I fell to the ground, and before I could get up, Marcus was in front of me, wielding a kitchen knife. I closed my eyes in fear, but the anticipated pain didn't come. I cautiously opened my eyes and saw a tall man standing in front of me, stopping Marcus. I breathed a sigh of relief. I couldn't imagine if the knife had pierced me. Just as I was about to thank the handsome man in front of me, I realized it was an old acquaintance. Long time no see, Grace. I don't know if it was my imagination, but I heard a hint of gritted teeth in his tone. Ethan. Thank you so much today. I shifted my gaze back to Marcus, who was still on the ground at Ethan's feet. Marcus, I kindly told you the truth, and you actually tried to attack me with a knife. No good deed goes unpunished. No, I wasn't going to attack you. I wanted to apologize. He then threw the kitchen knife far away. My eye twitched. Who apologizes by chasing someone with a knife? Was it, I accept your apology, so I'll let you go, or if you don't accept my apology, I'll stab you with a kitchen knife? I know I was wrong. I was out of line before. Please forgive me. We can go remarry right now, and I promise I'll never mess around again. As a person, I still couldn't accept Marcus's shamelessness. Before I could speak, Ethan scoffed. Grace, you left me to marry this kind of person? I inexplicably felt a surge of embarrassment. It was indeed embarrassing to have an ex-boyfriend witness being chased by your ex-husband with a knife. Grace, who is he? Marcus, though restrained, was still not behaving. Does it concern you, ex-hubby? Grace, I know you can't let go of me, otherwise, you wouldn't have secretly followed me. You saw it, Sarah and I have broken up. We can be together again. The more Marcus spoke, the darker Ethan's face became, though I didn't know why he was getting angry. You were willing to be dinks for me, unwilling to hurt my self-esteem. You must still have feelings for me. Please forgive me this once. Hearing these words, my eye twitched, and I wished I could cover his mouth. Marcus, just shut up. This lifetime, even if I never marry, I will never forgive you. You disgust me just by looking at you. Ethan's brows finally relaxed a bit upon hearing that. Don't be disgusting here. You should go to the police and explain your assault with a deadly weapon. After he spoke, the police arrived and took him away. Having been frightened and my legs weak, I found a place to sit down. Just then, I noticed a teasing gaze on me. I met Ethan's eyes. Is something wrong? Nothing. Just seeing what kind of person my ex-girlfriend ended up with. I waved my hand dismissively. Everyone meets a few scumbags in their life, don't they? You're one of them. Ethan pointed to himself in disbelief. I'm a scumbag? Grace, that's irresponsible of you. You're clearly the heartbreaker. He finished speaking, his eyes slightly red and his face full of grievance. Chapter 10. Ethan and I had been on the verge of getting married. My principle for marriage was that the man had to marry into my family. When I proposed this to Ethan, he fell silent for a moment, then turned and left. I chuckled to myself in self-mockery. How could Ethan, the scion of a powerful East dynasty with vast family wealth, possibly agree to marry into my family? After that, I found Marcus, who was willing to marry into my family, and lost contact with Ethan. Back then, I only went home to discuss it with my parents, but you turned around and married someone else. Not married, married into the family. I whispered in rebuttal. Are you still going to argue with me about something like this? I had already prepared to transfer my assets, just waiting for you to propose a formal union, and then I heard you got married. Grace, do you have any conscience? I froze, completely unaware that Ethan had already prepared to marry into my family at that time. I looked at him apologetically. I'm sorry. Ethan's voice was slightly choked. What good is sorry? Can you make me marry into your family again now? Huh? I suspected I had misheard. I widened my eyes and looked at Ethan, my shock evident. What did you say? Ethan's face flushed crimson, and he stammered for a long time without saying a word. I said, can you let me marry into your family now? After saying this, Ethan's ears were so red they looked like they might bleed. Marcus was sentenced to 3 years for assault with a deadly weapon. 3 years passed quickly. Marcus was released. The first thing he did was come looking for me. Grace, come out and see me. Early in the morning, I was woken up by shouts outside. I suppressed my morning grumpiness and opened the door. Marcus, are you sick? What are you yelling about this early in the morning? Seeing grin happily. Grace, I've completely turned a new leaf now. Would you be willing to give me another chance? When I was in prison, a guy gave me a secret remedy, said if I took it, I could have children. Don't you just love children? We'll have one as soon as we remarry. 3 years of rehabilitation still couldn't rid Marcus of his shamelessness. You want to have children with my wife? Did you get my permission? Ethan emerged, wearing matching pajamas, just like mine. Marcus looked at me, stunned. Grace, you're married? It's obvious, isn't it? Can't you see how much better we are together? Ethan put his hand on my shoulder. I don't believe it. Grace loves me so much, she must have sent you to trick me. Mama, mama, mama. Sounds came from behind me. I turned around and saw the 3 children. Their parents weren't around, so they felt insecure and all came out looking for us. I glared at Ethan. Why aren't you putting the children to sleep? What are you doing out here? Ethan picked up the 3 children from the floor. See? Children, 3 of them. All mine. Ethan's eyes gleamed with triumph as he provocatively looked at a pale Marcus. Now do you believe it? Triplets, and they're all my darlings. All yours. You pathetic gold digger. Moving in with the wife's family and assuming responsibilities, that's up to me to decide. You clearly didn't get it, but plenty of others are willing to. After saying that, he rested his head on my shoulder. Honey, I haven't had enough sleep yet. Let's go catch some more sleep. I took one child from Ethan's arms and nodded. I really did need a bit more sleep. And I made sure to tell the security guard not to let Marcus in again. Thank you for watching today's story. If you liked this video, please like and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments section. Feel free to share your views, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.